All right. So this method is actually going to be our arithmetic, our operations. So the first of which will be private and add. All right. And we're going to say in X, and let's just say in Y. All right. So we're going to be returning a value, and that value is sum. So let's go ahead and put that in. All right. We haven't actually declared a value, or we haven't declared a variable named sum, so that's why we have this error, but we're going to go ahead and declare that now. So to do that, we're just going to say int sum equals x plus y, just like that. Now I'll space it out. And there you go. So now we have this warning message that just says we haven't used this variable, which that will go away when we actually use it up in the main method. But for now, we can ignore that. That method is complete. The second method we're going to go ahead and create is, as you can probably guess, going to be the subtract method. All right, we're going to say private and subtract, and we'll say, and we'll go ahead and let's just create that real quick. And then we're going to say int x and int y. And again, so this code really can be copy and pasted for each one of these different methods. However, I feel like if you're truly new to coding, you shouldn't be copy and pasting code in any regard, whether it's within your own code or if you're copy and pasting from, something like Stack Overflow, which if you've coded at all, then you're probably familiar with Stack Overflow. You really want to try and learn the code that you are, that you're using, that you're creating, because you don't want to get into the habit of having to copy and paste code regularly. It's really easy to find a lot of answers online, but there's no point in finding those answers if you're not going to actually learn the answer, So there we have our subtract method. It's going to be just like our add method, except we're going to use a difference, and then the operation is going to be subtraction. And then, as you can guess, the next would be multiplication. Perfect. And we're going to say int x and int y. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to say int, what is that called? Product equals x plus y. And then we're going to say return product, just like that. And this is really good practice for just kind of learning how methods work, return statements work, all those different aspects of coding that obviously our projects that we create in our videos are going to be basic level, but they're still fundamental. So, and they are designed for you to go and make them more efficient, make them, more bulky, give them substance. So that is a challenge that you can go and do on your own. All right. So the last method we're going to create is the divide method. And this one is going to be a quotient. And this one's going to be a little bit different from the other ones. All right. So in this method, we're going to actually check to make sure that the y value, the y value is not equal to 0. The reason being is you can't divide by 0. If you try to divide by 0, just like in a math class, if you try to divide by 0, your calculator is going to give you an error, or if you do it and you don't have a calculator, your teacher's going to give you a 0 for that problem. Your program will do the same thing. So you will get an error if you try to divide by 0, so just don't do it. All right, so let's go ahead and say y equals 0. And so what this says is if y is equal to 0, we're going to return 0. All right. And we're just going to return 0 because we want to keep it simple. But we're going to say if quotient, so in this case, if y does not equal 0, we're going to say if quotient equals x divided by y, we will go ahead and return quotient. All right, so if y is equal to 0, we're just going to return back 0. And that prevents an error in that regard because we are using a return statement. If it doesn't equal 0, then we'll go ahead and do our normal operation and get the answer. All right, so we are done with our methods. We can actually, I'm just going to shorten these up a little bit. So the next thing we want to do is we actually want to, let me determine. So I think we can go ahead and create our object. So in order to access these methods, we have to use an object. Java is an object-oriented programming language. So to access a method, you have to access it with an object. Just like in order to use the methods to scanner, we have to use scanner dot. To access these methods, we're going to have to use some object dot add or dot subtract or whatever it may be. So that object is actually going to be called, calc. And we're just going to call that calc. Calc equals new calc object. All right. So we created an object called calc. As you notice, that object is of class calc because our methods are in that class, and that's the class we need to access to get those methods. So we create that object. Let's go ahead and use those objects. So now we're going to go ahead and create a switch statement, and we're going to use the OP, the operand variable that we created, and we're going to go ahead and work on that data. We're going to manipulate that data a little bit. So let's go ahead and go down below scanner.close. We're going to say switch, and what a switch statement says is essentially take a variable, take the value of a variable, and determine based off of various cases which case is true. So it's kind of similar to an if statement. They're a little bit different. I'll let you go in and look at the differences between the two. But in our case, we're just going to use a switch. Okay, so we're going to say switch. I don't like how they autofill like code templates. All right, so switch up, and then let me just delete all this. I don't want any of this. All right, so we're going to say switch up, and then we're going to say case, and we're going to say plus, right? And then we're going to use a colon, and then we're going to say, let's see, case plus, and we will say, okay, so we're going to say system.out, and let me go ahead and remove this. Right. So I actually need to, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, there we go. All right, perfect. So I was missing a curly brace. All right, perfect. So we're going to say system.out.println, and then we're going to say and we're going to actually print this on a new line. All right, so we're going to say the sum is, and then we're going to say plus, and then we're going to say calc. We're going to use that object we created to access the variable, to access the methods we created, and then we're going to say add. And then we're going to take num1, and we're going to take num2. All right. And as you see, we have no issues. So just a real quick synopsis on what we just did there. We're printing out a print statement that says the sum is, and it's going to take the object we created. We're going to use that to access the add method. And then we're going to use num1 which is the value they enter for number 1, and then number 2, the value they entered for number 2. And we're going to test using the operand, based off of whichever operand they ask for. And we're going to print out the answer, whatever that may be. We're going to use the arithmetic that they requested. And then after we create that line, we're going to go ahead and break. Break means we don't want it to go ahead and continue on to the next case. We want it to end there. All right, so let's go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and kind of speed through these ones because, well, you know, in all honesty, I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to copy and paste. It's so easy just to copy and paste, but I'm not going to. You can definitely, if you feel comfortable, you feel you are beyond this level of coding, definitely copy and paste if you want to. But if you are new, make sure you probably shouldn't copy and paste. Make sure you are understanding the work that you're doing. So C, and then we're going to say plus calc dot subtract number 1. Now, I do want to say for each of these cases we create, the num1 and the num2, their positionings aren't really significant. For each of them except the divide. The divide, they are significant because remember, we created that test in our divide method to determine if y equals 0. So that's going to be important. You know, if y equals 0, you may not get the response or the answer you're looking for. You know, so keep that in mind. All right, we're going to say do. And we're going to say the product is, let's say plus calc dot product. What did I name? Oh, multiply. Oh, I did multiplication. No. All right, so real quick, I'm going to go in and I'm going to change this. I don't know why I said multiplication. I didn't even realize I typed all of that out. I definitely wouldn't have done that. So I'm going to go ahead and change this. In order to change a name or a variable or a method or anything like that in Eclipse, it's as simple as going, right clicking it and pulling up a refractor and then rename. And this will allow me to go in, multiply. I think that's how you spell multiply. And then click return. Okay, so I already have syntax errors here. I need to fix this right quick. Yeah, I can go ahead and do it. But yeah, that's how you refractor. Let me just go ahead and do that real quick. All right, now let's see. Refractor. Let's go ahead. Remove this. Perfect. All right, so have that changed to multiply. All right, and then the last case we're going to create will be the divide case. Now, there are many easier ways to create the project we created. Again, keep in mind, our projects are not designed to be practical uses. They're designed to be practice uses. All right, so yeah, you can go and literally create a print line statement, a single statement, and do every one of these operations inside of it, but you're not really learning anything in that regard, right? So this allows you to stimulate your brain a little bit and take this basic usage of, using methods and accessing objects and things like that, and branch off and get creative with it, right? As well as just learning and practicing using these things. So definitely worth it in the long run. There are a lot of things that when I was learning how to code, I wish I knew beforehand, because I was one of the ones who I quit, came back, quit again, came back, quit again, and it was like, why is this so hard to understand? And then finally, I talked to a professor, and he was like, Aaron, stick with it because one day it's going to click. And sure enough, it clicked. All right, so let's see. All right, first thing we need to do is create a break statement here. All right, and we have an error. I see. Yeah, okay. All right, perfect. So, we are good in that regard. We should be just about done with our project. The only thing that's really left is just to run it and make sure everything works. So there are a couple of things that we can make better about this project. However, I'm not going to do those in this video. I'm actually not going to do those at all. Your challenge can definitely be to go in and perfect our calculator. It is a basic calculator, but there are a couple issues with the calculator currently. So let's go ahead and run it and see kind of what we have. All right. So please enter the first number. All right, let's say 10. Please enter the second number. Let's say 20. Oh, okay. So we have one issue. We are going to fix this one. That's not supposed to happen. All right, so the second number was, okay, I see. It's because we did not change this. All right, so we're going to say, please enter an operation. All right, that's next line. That's next int. That's next int. Next int. Next. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and do that again. 10. Operation, boom. Operation, boom. Perfect. That's not right. All right, so I believe that's going to be on our method. And this is the fun part about coding. Depending upon who you ask, debugging is the part that a lot of coders despise. So that's a part of coding, though. You have to be able to realize that you're going to probably have bugs in your code. You're not going to have one usually. You're going to have a whole lot of them. So learning how to debug is a class on its own. All right. So anywho, this is a simple fix for us. It's because our method had a plus instead of a times. And just to eradicate that issue for any others, let's just make sure real quick. And plus. All right, perfect. So our program should be running correctly now. Let's go ahead and see. All right, so let's do 10. And we're going to say times again. And then we're going to say 20. And there we go. So that's working. There are a couple things we can make better about our program. So our video is just about done. I'm not going to go any farther with the coding on this video. However, I will give you some challenges. The first of which, how would you make your program continue to run even after you complete an operation? So after I put in 20 and I clicked enter and I got the product back, how would I be able to make the program continue and ask again, okay, please enter another number. Please enter your operation. Please enter a second number and do another calculation. That's one challenge you can create. Another of which, let's say, how would you be able to limit negative numbers from being added? Right, so those are two areas you can definitely look into. The negative number isn't really an issue because calculators should be able to calculate negative numbers, but being able to continue to run the program is a practical use that can really benefit you. So with that said, we are all good to go. I do appreciate you guys tuning in, hanging out with me. Definitely check out our next video. It will likely be a piggy bank app. That one should be pretty fun, and that one is actually a practical project that you can use. But yeah, again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next video.